Your hand is already on the mouse when the voice arrives behind you, "Do it this way." It's a simple sentence. It could be helpful. It could be harmless. But your body tightens like someone just reached for your collar. Your jaw sets. Your stomach drops. And before your mind can sort tone from content, something inside you has already made a decision: no. If you hate being told what to do, it's rarely just stubbornness. It's an inner rebellion, almost automatic, against anything that feels like control. The inner rebel isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect your autonomy, often because your body remembers what it felt like to be pushed, shamed, managed, or humiliated. This script is about meeting that rebel as a real inner figure, what triggers it, what wound it guards, and how it can stop sabotaging you once it becomes an ally instead of a wildfire. It shows up in everyday scenes where you wish you could be easier. A coworker sends a message with a checklist tone. Your calendar pings. A meeting moved, a deadline shifted, a quick reminder that lands like a command. You were going to do the work anyway. But now you feel something sour in your chest. You stall. You procrastinate. You do everything except the thing. Later, you hate that you resisted. You hate that they had that much power over your mood. At home it can be worse, because it gets closer to the skin. Someone you love says, "You should really," and your body hears, "You're failing." Or, "I'm above you." Or, "You don't get to choose." You might snap. You might go quiet. You might agree and then forget, as if your forgetfulness is a private protest. And sometimes the rebel turns on you. You decide to wake up early. You write the plan on a sticky note. You tell yourself you're serious this time. Then morning arrives and your own plan feels like a cage. The alarm rings and a part of you wants to smash the whole day just to prove you're still free. You lie there staring at the ceiling, feeling ridiculous, trapped by your own intentions. This is the cycle. A request appears, your rebel flares, you resist, then you judge yourself for resisting, then you feel trapped again. If you've lived this, you've probably been called difficult, defiant, hard to manage. You've probably called yourself worse. But the rebel isn't random. It has a logic. It has a history. In your inner world, there's a figure you could call the external commander. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be a tone, a posture, a certain kind of help. It speaks in instructions that feel final. It assumes authority. Even when it's gentle, your body senses the shape of the force behind it. And then your rebel appears, fast, bright, allergic to being moved. It doesn't argue politely. It doesn't negotiate. It refuses on principle. It would rather lose than comply. It would rather be misunderstood than owned. But the rebel is not the deepest part. It's the loudest part. Behind it sits something quieter, the wounded one. The part of you that remembers being corrected in public. Being laughed at for not knowing. Being forced to obey without being allowed to ask why. Being made small for needing time, needing space, needing dignity. That part holds old heat. Old shame. Old humiliation that never fully left the body. And hovering over the whole scene is the judge, an inner voice that tries to whip you into cooperation. Why can't you just take feedback? Why are you like this? You're ruining things again. The judge thinks it's helping. It thinks shame will make you easier. But the moment the judge speaks, the rebel hears another form of control. So the rebel gets stronger. That's why this pattern can feel impossible to fix. You try to force yourself to comply. The rebel escalates. You shame yourself for escalating. The rebel escalates again. It's a loop built out of coercion, even when no one is trying to coerce you. Here's the deeper truth: your rebel isn't reacting to information. It's reacting to invasion. A loss of choice. A threat to your dignity. A memory of being handled. Because the body remembers power. You might not remember the first time you felt controlled. But your system remembers the feeling of your own will being overridden. It remembers the heat of being told you're wrong in front of others. It remembers the tight smile you had to wear when you wanted to scream. It remembers the moment you learned, if I comply, I survive, but I disappear. So you built another survival strategy. Refusal. Refusal keeps you alive inside. It's a way of saying, I still belong to myself. And when you've had periods in life where you didn't feel like you belong to yourself, the rebel becomes sacred. It becomes identity. It becomes the last line of defense. This is why you can resist even good advice. The rebel doesn't ask, is this true? It asks, am I being moved? That question lives in your muscles, not your thoughts. And yes, the rebel can sabotage you. It can burn bridges. It can turn small requests into battles. It can make love feel like a power struggle. It can make work feel like a cage. It can make you abandon your own goals out of sheer inner spite. But notice the strange nobility in it. The rebel is trying to protect something precious, autonomy. There's a deeper figure under the rebel you can call the Protector of Autonomy. This one doesn't need drama. It doesn't need defiance as performance. It simply wants you to remain self-authored. It wants your yes to mean yes. It wants your no to mean no. It wants you to feel like you have choice even inside responsibility. The rebel is what happens when that protector has no other tools. So the work here isn't to kill the rebel. The work is to give it a better job. If you recognized yourself in any of these scenes, write in the comments which one hit closest: work, relationships, or fighting your own plans. Just one line. It helps to see the pattern outside your head. The first change is tiny, and it happens in the moment of flair. Someone tells you what to do. You feel the heat rise. Your chest hardens. Your mind starts sharpening its knives. Pause. One breath. Not to suppress the rebel. To notice it. Then ask a question that changes the entire dynamic: what choice do I need to feel right now? Because the rebel often appears when you feel cornered. It will sabotage just to prove there's still an exit. So you give it an exit, internally, without burning the building down. Sometimes the choice is simple: I can do this, but I choose the order. Sometimes it's, I'll consider it, and I'll decide. Sometimes it's a boundary: don't speak to me like I'm a child. Sometimes it's honesty: when you tell me what to do in that tone, something in me shuts down. This isn't a speech. It's an inner key turning in a lock. Because the moment you restore choice, the rebel doesn't have to scream for it. There's a reason the rebel can feel young. It often formed at a time when you didn't have power. So it uses the only power it had: refusing, sulking, withdrawing, doing the opposite. It's a teenager inside your chest, and it doesn't trust that adulthood exists yet. It doesn't know you can negotiate. It doesn't know you can walk away. It doesn't know you can say no without begging for permission. It doesn't know you can accept guidance without surrendering your dignity. So you teach it, not with theory, but with proof. You practice receiving input as information instead of command. You translate the external commander into something neutral: this is a suggestion. This is data. You don't have to obey it to survive. You don't have to fight it to exist. And when the wounded part stirs, the old shame, the old humiliation, you stop treating it like an inconvenience. You let it be real for a second. You let it say, that tone made me feel small. You let your body register that truth without turning it into a war. This is what maturity looks like inside autonomy: you don't surrender, and you don't scorch the earth. Because autonomy without maturity becomes sabotage. Maturity without autonomy becomes resentment. The inner alliance is when your rebel stops being a wildfire and becomes a guard at the gate, alert, loyal, calm. You'll still feel the flare sometimes. It won't vanish. But it will change texture. Instead of instantly refusing, you'll feel the choice appear between stimulus and reaction. A thin space. A fraction of freedom. And that space is everything. One day, you'll be in a line, subway turnstiles, people pressing behind you, the city moving like a single impatient animal. Someone bumps your shoulder and mutters, "Come on." The old rebel will rise. Then you'll do something different. You'll step forward at your own pace. Not slow to provoke. Not fast to please. Just yours. And you'll hear it, quiet, almost surprising, the rebel no longer screaming. Just standing beside you, protective and steady, like a hand on the small of your back that says, "We're not being controlled. And we're not destroying ourselves to prove we're free."